Okay, keep working. I'm going to kind of color code this and so forth, but just go ahead and do what you're doing. Okay, so this times this, we're going to first get this times the negative 5/2 cosine minus I sine. And I'm going to just write cosine and sine and leave off the omega t just because of space. So we get, well, we're going to have a factor negative 5/2 in all the terms we get from this times this. And of course then we're going to have a factor omega and whatever we get from here and here. Starting with just this. And I'll kind of put a purple circle around this to indicate that multiplying this by this, we're going to get what? A cosine squared. And then it's going to be minus a sine squared, because we have an I sine times a negative I sine. Actually, it's plus an I sine then, because the I times I gives us a negative. Just thinking about the I times I and not paying attention to that negative. And then we have the I terms. And that's going to be cosine times a negative sine, so it's minus sine cosine. And then it's going to be a cosine times a sine, so it's going to be plus a sine cosine. If I've done that correctly, then this is going to be 0, and this is going to be 1. And that's going to be very convenient.
Okay, I got my 0. Yes.
Now, then we're going to have plus omega times what? Well, we got a negative cosine times sine from the cosine times the sine, and a positive sine cosine from the I sine times the negative I cosine. So that's going to be negative cosine times sine. This doesn't have a very good point on it. Plus cosine times sine. Okay. And then plus I multiplied by cosine times cosine, and then I sine times negative sine, and it's going to be a negative cosine squared and a negative sine squared. Now we have a parenthesis here in the negative 5/2. Actually, that needs to stay purple. And I need to close that set of parentheses here, and I need to close the parentheses here. And now I've got this times this. Now we see that that's going to just be negative 5/2, and then it's plus I omega times negative 1. So it's going to be negative 5/2 minus I omega. Okay? Everything else is going to go away. Then we have to do this one, okay? Now, this is taking more time than we really want to spend,
Yeah.
but that's how it's done, okay? And we can at least see, so I'll just write down an et cetera here. Okay.
The important thing I found out is that it was just in my algebra at the end then.
Is
So
what?
I at least got the setup right. It was just the algebra in the end that kept messing me up.
Yeah.
That's an easy fix.
Yeah. So, yeah, so it's fairly easy to fix it. So go ahead and fix it, okay? Because there's really no point in working out the rest. You need to work it out. Okay, good.